As missile strikes and drone attacks ripple across the Gulf, diplomacy moved swiftly behind the scenes. The President of the United Arab Emirates, Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, received a phone call from Russian President Vladimir Putin. The two leaders discussed what the UAE described as blatant Iranian attacks targeting Emirati territory and several Arab states. They also reviewed the serious military and security developments unfolding across the region. Both leaders called for an immediate halt to escalation. The message: contain the conflict before it widens further. According to official statements from Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed and President Putin spoke on Monday as tensions intensified across the Middle East. The discussion focused on Iranian attacks targeting the UAE and other Arab countries, as well as the broader security and military implications for regional and international stability. The call reflects growing diplomatic engagement as Gulf states face direct security threats. During the conversation, both leaders stressed the need for an immediate halt to military escalation. They emphasized avoiding any widening of the conflict and underscored the importance of dialogue and diplomacy in resolving disputes. The appeal comes at a time when missile exchanges and retaliatory operations have expanded across multiple fronts in the region. The UAE has described the recent Iranian strikes as blatant attacks on its territory and on several Arab nations. The developments have raised concerns over regional stability, energy security, and the safety of key infrastructure hubs. Russia, which maintains strategic ties across the Middle East, has positioned itself as a diplomatic actor calling for restraint. The Putin MBZ call signals coordination between Moscow and Abu Dhabi during a volatile moment. While the UAE has strengthened ties with Western partners, it has also maintained open communication channels with Russia. The emphasis from both sides was clear: prevent further escalation, prioritize diplomacy, and stabilize the region before the conflict deepens.
Russian President Vladimir Putin condemned the killing of Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei as a cynical murder, as one of Moscow's closest allies continues to fight a deadly war that has spread across the Middle East. In a note to Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian, Putin said, "Please accept my deep condolences in connection with the murder of the supreme leader, committed in cynical violation of all norms of human morality and international law." Khamenei's death marks a staggering blow to Russian influence in a matter of months. He is the third Moscow-backed leader to fall in just 15 months following the collapse of Russian-aligned governments in Syria and Venezuela. Russia says the US and Israeli attacks have thrust the entire Middle East into the abyss, but some Iranian sources have said Tehran received little real help from Moscow in its biggest crisis since the 1979 revolution. The relationship between Putin and Khamenei was long and deliberate. Putin's first foreign visit outside the former Soviet Union since the start of the Ukraine war in 2022 was to Tehran, where he met Khamenei personally. Both wary of US intelligence intercepts, the two leaders sometimes communicated through written messages or trusted envoys rather than direct calls. Russia and Iran also signed a 20-year strategic partnership deal earlier last year. But crucially, the published agreement contains no mutual defense clause, meaning Moscow faces no formal obligation to respond militarily, though Russia does support a peaceful nuclear program if Iran wants to build one. There is, however, one dimension where Russia stands to gain. If the conflict triggers a sustained disruption to Gulf oil supplies, global crude prices will rise, directly boosting Russian oil revenues as Iran blocks the Strait of Hormuz.
Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy has issued a chilling declaration. No vessels are permitted to cross the Strait of Hormuz. The order, reportedly broadcast over maritime VHF radio and cited by Reuters, amounts to a de facto shutdown of one of the most vital arteries in the global economy, a move that could send shockwaves through energy markets within hours. The warning comes as tensions explode across the Middle East following direct military exchanges between Iran, Israel, and the United States, and now the confrontation appears to be shifting to the sea. The Strait of Hormuz is no ordinary waterway. This narrow corridor links the Persian Gulf to the Indian Ocean, wedged between Iran's southern coast and Oman's Musandam Peninsula. At just about 50 kilometers wide, shallow, constrained, and militarily exposed, it's one of the most vulnerable strategic choke points on Earth. And it carries staggering weight. More than 20% of the world's oil and petroleum consumption, roughly 20 million barrels every single day, flows through this passage. Nearly 1/5 of global liquefied natural gas trade also transits these waters, much of it originating from Qatar. If the strait is truly closed, even temporarily, the consequences could be immediate and severe. Energy prices surging, shipping disrupted, global markets rattled. What began as missile exchanges may now be threatening the lifeline of the global economy. Over 80% of the oil and gas transiting Hormuz is bound for Asian markets. China alone purchases more than 90% of Iran's oil exports, according to industry analysis. While Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates have limited pipeline capacity to bypass the strait, experts warn alternative routes can handle only a fraction of normal volumes. The U.S. Energy Information Administration has repeatedly described Hormuz as one of the world's most important oil choke points. Strategically placed islands, including Hormuz, Kesh, and Larak, give Iran geographic leverage over the shipping lanes. Disputed islands, such as Greater Tunb, Lesser Tunb, and Abu Musa, further enhance Tehran's vantage point. The Revolutionary Guard, which controls naval operations in the Gulf, has long criticized the presence of foreign forces, including the U.S. Fifth Fleet based in Bahrain and major U.S. installations in Qatar. The strait has repeatedly been a flashpoint. During the Iran-Iraq tanker war of the 1980s, hundreds of vessels were damaged or destroyed. In 1988, a U.S. frigate struck an Iranian mine in the strait. That same year, an Iran Air passenger jet was shot down by a U.S. warship, killing 290 people. More recently, ship seizures and confrontations have intensified since Washington withdrew from the nuclear deal in 2018. In 2024, Iran seized a Portuguese-flagged container ship, and earlier this year, Iranian gunboats approached a U.S.-flagged tanker in the same waters. If the Strait of Hormuz is effectively sealed off, the shockwaves would race far beyond the Gulf. Oil and gas prices could spike within hours, jolting global markets and igniting fresh economic turmoil. Tankers would be stranded, supply lines choked, and energy-dependent economies forced into sudden crisis mode. From fuel pumps to factory floors, the disruption would ripple through supply chains worldwide.
A maritime chokehold with the power to squeeze the global economy in real time.